People jump into cybersecurity thinking that it's an ultimate tech related role. Now, when I started cybersecurity, I thought that I had to learn Python, C, JavaScript. But then when I actually ended up a job as a cybersecurity consultant at a big four, then I realized, hey, you know what? If you want to break into cybersecurity, not every single job role is technical. Now, in this video, I'm going to basically compare you guys technical roles as well as non-technical roles. And now when I mean technical, I'm talking about hard coding, programming languages, actual configuration files, actually deploying and implementing specific technical controls as well as specific implementation protocols. Now, when it comes to tech roles, these are not limited to, but these are the most popular tech roles in the market. We have first the SOC analyst. Now, what is a SOC analyst? Security Operations Command is basically where you sit down, mainly blue teaming, inside a so-called operations center or an operations room, and you basically deal with SIEM solutions. Now, SIEM is basically a tool used by SOC analysts to essentially analyze specific cybersecurity so-called threats and attacks that happen to an organization, and you are tasked to analyze, escalate, and as well as investigate specific incidents that occur within an organization related to cybersecurity. Next is a penetration tester. Now, penetration tester is more towards the offensive security type. Penetration testing is also known as the red team. Now, as a penetration tester, you work very closely with tools such as Kali Linux, where you use certain frameworks such as Metasploit, Burp Suite, and other specific tools for offensive security, where you essentially conduct vulnerability assessments and you actually, on the offensive, say launch simulated attacks. You try to analyze the impact of specific cybersecurity attacks, and you also document specific black box or white box simulated attacks. Now, that's penetration tester. The third one is a security engineer. Now, this is perhaps a more of a traditional job, but it's still existing in the market. Now, security engineers, essentially, you are known as the so-called network admin, where you configure firewalls, you deal a lot with XDR or endpoint solutions, and your task is to basically identify and configure, more from a technical perspective, the so-called cybersecurity perimeter, in other words, the defense in depth. Now, the last but not least is the cloud engineer. Now, when I mean cloud engineer, whether it is cloud architect or developer, cloud engineering in general is quite technical, and it's mainly because you work with a lot of product agnostic tools such as AWS or Azure. And so your task is basically to essentially program or develop specific protocols and basically ensure that organizations are able to deploy whether it's protocols, applications, programs, apps, etc., into the cloud, and to essentially synchronize with, let's say, on-premises infrastructure. Now, that is more towards the tech roles. Now, what are some of the non-tech roles? Now, the non-tech roles is basically the background of where I come from. I'm a cybersecurity consultant, as you can see, and the majority of my task revolves around strategy, frameworks, a lot as well with I am an architect, and also some of the GRC elements. And so cybersecurity consultant as a job exists on itself, but it does contain elements of GRC, IM, even security auditor, and even sometimes, depending on the project, some of the elements of the tech roles. But I, as a cybersecurity consultant, I never get to touch code, and I don't want to in that manner. And so I don't get very hands-on, and I'm not on the end end part of it where I actually deploy and implement framework. Unless you are specializing, let's say I am, then that's definitely a different story. Now, moving forward, GRC analyst, and that's even, in my opinion, the more higher the higher overview of non-techies in cybersecurity trying to break into, because GRC, global risk compliance, there your main focus is literally compliance, audit, frameworks. You work with ISO 27001, COBIT 2019, COBIT 5, you work with NIST, you work with PCI DSS, you work with all different types of frameworks. And it also explains why GRC analyst is not mainly with people who come from cybersecurity backgrounds. You also have GRC analysts who had finance backgrounds, or GRC analysts who even had law backgrounds. Now the third one is an IM architect, or in other words, a cybersecurity architect. Now this is, I would say, IM or architect is more fused. It's more like in conjunction with a cybersecurity consultant or a GRC analyst. But IM, identity access management, exists as a role in itself. However, you could argue that IAM is quite a technical role, especially if you're more of the implementation as well as development of specific identity access management solutions. And so IAM could fit as a tech role, but there are IAM's roles that do belong as a cybersecurity consultant, as I mentioned. But IAM at itself is, in my opinion, a job title on its own. It's quite isolated, and it could contain elements for both. So maybe we could just add it, on both sides of the equation. Now let me just add it here. Now Now the last role that is not really related or in terms of not that technical is a security auditor. Now when I mean security auditor, I'm specifically talking about IT audit. Now initially when I applied for a job, I wanted to apply myself as an IT audit, but I realized, for example, that when I wanted to apply as an IT audit at a Big Four, a lot of people who were in IT audit had more of a finance background. But do not take my word for it, as that really depends on the company. There are IT audits who have auditors who have a full, like cybersecurity or computer science background, especially if you're an IT auditor focusing on ISO 27001, then your background is fundamentally computer. But if you're interested, to apply for IT audit jobs at companies such as the Big Four, then I can say for sure that a lot of the IT audit guys, their background is more from a finance background. And so with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a very simple breakdown, a very simple comparison between tech and non-tech roles. But to even answer the question, yes, cybersecurity exists. You don't need to, go into cybersecurity having to learn Python and JavaScript or C++ or Solidity or whatever type of other programming language. I like to tell this to myself as well, and that is that if you're interested, to go into specific cybersecurity roles and you don't want to learn the coding language, at least know how the fundamentals of the languages work, how they essentially talk to each other, learn the infrastructure around it, and understand how programming languages are used to deploy specific protocols, applications, etc. And so that at least you have the global overview understanding of the specific programming language, even though you don't know yourself how to hard code it, which is not an issue. Now, if you guys did enjoy my video, please like and subscribe. It really means the world to me. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. If you have any questions, do drop it in the comments below. I answer every single question. And otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.